Hi there, so here is the Redmi Note 7, a super budget option from the Redmi Note series. Its biggest plus being it's priced under 10,000 rupees. So should you buy this one? Well, in this video we're going to do an in-depth review. We're going to cover its pros, its cons and everything you want to know about the Redmi Note 7. So continue watching this video. This is your friend Singh. Let's get started. So here's a quick look at the specifications. Qualcomm Snapdragon 660 processor, top-notch Full HD display, Corning Gorilla Glass 5, 13 megapixel selfie camera with dual rear camera, 4000 mAh high capacity battery, Type-C port and 3.5mm audio headphone jack. The front and back of the Redmi Note 7 are made of glass, covered with Gorilla Glass 5, which makes it scratch resistant and is quite toughened. But I highly recommend you put a cover on this because eventually it's glass, chances of shattering are always higher without a cover. Anyway, coming back to the back, which is glass, it looks extremely premium, as you can see. Just because it's glass, it gives a very classy look. The sides are polycarbonate, are prone to scratches. As of now, I don't have any scratches, but they're polycarbonate and chances of scratches are always higher. It's glossy and shiny and it's nice and soft. So talking about the buttons, on the right side you have the power button and the volume rocker up and down. On the other side you have the SIM tray, which is a hybrid dual SIM tray. So now you can put 2 nano SIM cards or 1 nano SIM card on 1 micro SD card. Now the good part is that the Note 7 comes with a 660 Qualcomm CPU, which means now it supports dual volt SIMs, which in simple terms means that you can put 2 Geo SIM cards in this phone and they'll work properly. There are some phones, old processors, which didn't support Volt on both. They actually supported Volt on only the primary SIM. So if you had a Geo SIM, it had to be on SIM 1. You couldn't even put it on the second SIM. Whereas with the Note 7, you can put the Geo SIM on the second SIM, or you can use it both Geo SIMs and it'll work absolutely fine, which is a huge plus. Coming to the top, you have the 3.5mm audio headphone jack, which is always welcome. You have the second voice cancelling mic, which is to cancel out ambient sounds when you're on a call, and there is also an IR blaster, which is amazing. IR blasters are a huge help. You can control your air conditioners, TVs, so many more things with just that IR blaster. I think it's a huge help and it's actually very underrated. It's so important. It's a very small feature. It's great to have an IR blaster on a budget phone like this. So on the bottom you have 2 grills, which is one is the mic and one is the speaker, and in the center is a charging port, which is now a USB-C, and the best part is that it's reversible. So unless a micro USB where you have to make sure you plug it in correctly, no worries about that. Now with USB-C you can plug it anyway and it works fine, and the chances of damaging the port are also far lesser. So coming to the back, there is a capacitive fingerprint scanner on the back, which is extremely fast, no complaints about that, and there's a dual camera setup. There's a 12 megapixel main camera, 2 megapixel depth sensor camera, which is for portrait when you want that blur background. So then that 2 megapixel camera helps create that bokeh on the back. The camera is quite good, we'll talk about that in a while. And there of course there is also an LED flashlight on the back, which is for flash, and it works pretty well. Coming to the front, there is a 13 megapixel selfie camera, which is actually a dot notch display that they're calling. We'll talk about it in the display section, and the front looks absolutely clean, which is really good. There is a small LED notification light on the chin, which is not visible when it's not blinking. When it blinks, that means you have a notification. When you plug in for charge, it stays on, which is actually so nice. It's such a small feature and it's wonderful. It's not visible anywhere. You don't see the lights unless there is a notification, which is brilliant. The Redmi Note 7 has a 6.3-inch 2340 by 1080 Full HD LCD display. Colors are extremely natural and not over vivid like you see on the Samsung or the other AMOLED displays. They're natural looking bright colors. You have no complaint with the colors. They look really nice, natural, and they look really colorful. They're not dull at all. Also, there is a design on the Redmi Note 7 which they call it the dot notch design. So now the notch is rounder like a dot, which is actually getting smaller. So notches are getting smaller. So now on the Note 7 they have a dot, and Xiaomi has created some around 8 or 10 wallpapers which actually just blend the dot notch totally totally in the wallpaper and they absolutely disappear. They have very smart ideas for wallpapers which look really beautiful, more artistic, and they just totally blend in. The brightness goes up to 450 nits, which is excellent. Gets enough bright even when you're using it under the sunlight. You can read your content. There's also a reading mode available which you can schedule it, or you can turn it on when you're reading something for long hours so that it doesn't strain your eyes. There's a small chin on the bottom which is like very slim. Apart from that, it's almost no bezels and very slim bezels on the top and the bottom. Apart from that, it looks really beautiful. This is one of the best displays I can say I've seen in a phone in this price segment. Colorful, bright, crisp, no complaints at all. The display is nothing great, but it's not bad at all. It's no complaints at all. It's good looking, perfect display for a phone in this budget. The Redmi Note 7 comes with the Snapdragon 660 AI chipset. Now there are other phones like the Realme 2 Pro and the Vivo V11 Pro which also have the Snapdragon 660, but their Antutu scores are 10% lesser than the Redmi Note 7. Reason being that they are light versions of the same processor, and Xiaomi claims that they have the complete version which will exploit the full potential. I did the Antutu score and it came around 1,32,000, which I think was quite decent for a 660 processor. It also has Adreno 512 GPU, which is fine for running games. I tried playing PUBG and Asphalt and they worked pretty fine. With PUBG, it worked on medium graphics. It didn't go to full graphics, but I think medium graphics are fine for a phone that barely costs 10,000 rupees. So the variants available in this are 3GB RAM and 32GB internal memory, and 4GB RAM and 64GB internal memory. You can expand them on both with a micro SD card up to 256GB. Wow, that is more than enough that you would ever want. Now 660 also comes with the quick charge 4 support, which is great, and now it has USB-C. You can just plug in both ways. The device is not a powerhouse like a flagship device, but it's not a slack either. It has the Snapdragon 660 CPU, which is not bad either. It opens social media apps, camera, all these apps extremely quickly. Games almost all play perfectly fine. I didn't find any hang-ups, any drop frames, nothing. All of them worked absolutely fine. Redmi Note 7 comes with a 4000 mAh battery, which is amazing considering it's having a 660 Snapdragon CPU, which is extremely power efficient, and with a 4000 mAh huge battery, I get almost 1.5 to 2 days of battery life. 1.5 very easily, 2 days many times. But of course, you can't be playing PUBG and Asphalt and huge high intense graphic games and expecting it to survive for 2 days. It won't happen. But yes, if you're using casual social media apps, emails, casual chats, phone calls, all these things, 2 days no problem at all. High intense graphic games, yes, that will cut down battery life. Also, I mentioned that the Redmi Note 7 comes with quick charge 4. Unfortunately, no fast charger in the box, but apart from that, great battery life, no complaints. 1.5 to 2 days of battery life, 4000 mAh battery, wow, nothing to complain. The camera on the rear is a 12 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensor camera, which helps for the portrait like I'd mentioned before. Also on the front you have a 13 megapixel selfie camera, and they all get the job done. On the front there's no flash, unlike many other phones that have the screen light up or there is a flash, but there's no flash on the front. There's flash only on the back. Now come on, this is a 12 megapixel sensor. Don't expect great results from a phone that is sub 10,000, right? Absolutely wrong. I thought the same, because I thought sub 10,000 phone, how can it have a great camera? Surprisingly, it was impressive. It's not going to be great, but if you're expecting it to be a decent camera, it's actually quite good. I took some images at night, I took some selfies, I took some night mode low light images, and they were pretty good. They were pretty good for a phone in this segment. In fact, they were better than what I'd expected them to be. Photos in the day look always beautiful, they're well balanced, they're not over bright, they are not overlit, colors are nice, they get quite natural actually, they're not very off, they're pretty quite close to what they really are. Selfies are good, you can have that blur even with the front camera selfie, which is quite good. So let's talk about the interface. The Redmi Note 7 is running MIUI 10, Android Skin, which is Android Pie 9, and like many of you, I'm not a fan of the MIUI, but I wasn't. But the skin and the ideas and the simplicity of the skin actually grew on me. The themes available are countless. I'm not a fan of the skins, but for people who are, it's all easily available. Then there is something which was the best part, that it doesn't have a launcher. It's just all there. The apps are all easily available, and somehow the skin grew on me. I started loving it the more I started using it. It has so many features that many people don't even know or not even using. Like for example, the biggest one being the gesture mode, which is actually where it actually replicates the use of an iPhone 10 or a 10s, where all the buttons on the bottom totally disappear, and you can swipe up to close the app, go back to go back, swipe up, and you can hold it and it comes up to multitasking. Somehow these gestures were so much more easier to use than the buttons on the bottom. Now this is very subjective. Some might like to use the buttons below, some might like to use the gestures, but since I'm an iPhone 10 user, I really am happy using the gestures. Also, there are many other things like the one hand mode, where you can one-handed, where you can swipe and it becomes, the screen comes on the corner. Small things are really easy and far more faster. Wallpaper collection also available. It's great. Trust me, the skin was something I was not too happy about, but now I'm getting so used to it. So it has a fingerprint scanner on the back which works like a charm. You can set up to 5 fingers and it works perfectly fine. Absolutely secure. You can lock your apps directly. You don't need a third-party app for those apps. You can just use your fingerprint to access those apps. Also available is the face unlock feature, which I would not recommend for security reasons. It's not as secure because it's technically just using a 2D image of you, which can be faked very easily. Not recommended, but it's there. So dual apps, split screen, great, all inbuilt on MIUI. I really wish they had the in-screen fingerprint scanner, but I think we'll see that in the Redmi Note 8 and 8 Pro. This would have escalated the cost, so they probably reserved it for the next model. But overall, the fingerprint scanner is very responsive, very accurate, really fast, no complaints about it. So finally it comes down to pros and cons, and let's start with the cons because there are so few. Firstly, no 4K video recording, even though the Snapdragon 660 CPU supports 4K recording. Secondly, no NFC on board, so no mobile payments. And thirdly, since the Snapdragon 660 also supports Quick Charge 4, there's no fast charging brick included in the box. Small points were nitpicking, but it's a little disappointing. So finally, let's move on to the pros, and there are so many. Firstly, the price. It's priced under 10,000 for the base variant, which is a 3GB RAM, 32GB internal memory. Is priced at 9,999, and 4GB RAM and 64GB internal memory is priced at 11,999. That's great. These prices are great. If you want to buy them, I'll leave links in the description. You should check them out. Don't miss them. They're great budget options. Of course, amazing battery, 4000 mAh battery, which lasts for 1.5 to 2 days. Great. USB Type-C, so now they're reversible and they support for quick charge. Amazing. Display notch design, edge-to-edge display, headphone jack, IR blaster, FM radio. Everything is a pro about this phone, and HD display. Everything that you look at this phone is almost good. The UI and the responsiveness is also something to talk about. It's actually quite good. So pros and cons, we always see that the cons are far outweighed with the pros. There are way too many pros. So in my final thoughts, the Redmi Note 7 checks all the boxes of a great mid-ranger. And to be frank, it's very difficult to complain for all the shortcomings at this price point. Absolutely perfect. So if you're looking for a phone under 10,000, 12,000, this is the one to go for. So I hope you all really like this video. Write down in the comments and give me your feedback about this video. Also, if you want to see other phone reviews, do write them down in the comments as well. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for many more videos like these. Until next time, cheers.